Yeah, that's another mindset entirely.
Right.
And I tell you what, we are coming to the end of this episode, but also this takeover one, this, groundbreaking uh, event that followed 35 or 36 more after, and it closed out with the NXT champion Adrian Neville against Tyson Kidd. Adrian Neville's a guy.
Oh,
It almost seems like WWE would only see him in that way, like the Pac character that he is now. I don't know if you would ever get a chance to do that because when you're that height and you look like that, you can do those things. It's almost like you have to be the kind of character he was in NXT.
I think he's as good as anyone walking the earth.
Hmm.
I think there was a time before he came that he wasn't so sure about himself because he'd never done any promos. He'd made a name for himself in Japan, and I met him in London, and I spent a couple of days with him, and he came, and I always knew he was it was just, first of all, he's got that thing that we talked about with Sammy before, that Sammy's managed all these things, but not looking like what you expect a wrestler to look like. Adrian Neville, I personally, I don't see anything to do with his height or pack.
No,
I
he
just
looks like a
see,
monster to me.
I look like, because I know, me and him have a lot of the same things as far as music and youth culture. It sounds funny me saying youth culture, but we like the same youth culture stuff from Britain. And he looks like somebody who's going to smash the granny out of somebody. And he's very assuming and quiet and polite, but I think he can. He's just quiet lad. He looks the part. His face tells a story. I really rate him, and I think he's fantastic, and I can't say enough good about him, and I can't say enough good about the way he carries himself and as a pro. And this match, Tyson Kidd is another person, TJ Wilson, unbelievable. Unfortunately, his career was cut short, but incredible pro. This is what the job's all about. It's got nothing to do with their size. It's got just a fantastic match with two people who believe that they're professional wrestlers fighting for a prize, and that everything made sense and everything looked right, and you can't see through any tricks, and there's nothing looks not right, and it all makes sense, and it makes sense in a modern style. And and there'll be people who'll say, well, I did this or that, and leave them to their outdated silly thoughts. Fantastic match, fantastic pros doing a brilliant job, and that's what the job's all about. And they're the kind of people that make me proud to be in this job. They're proper pro wrestlers and fantastic at what they do. And I have my own thoughts on different things. I once he learned to talk, and that I don't think he gets enough credit for his talking ability, because he became incredibly good at talking. He's a very good promo person. The one unfortunate thing about him is that he is so good and so reliable and so much of a pro, that can be a hindrance to you in some respects, because people rely on you and know that you're not going to be any trouble, and you can hit anything that needs doing. You can have a match with anybody. It can sometimes be a frustrating thing, I would think.
Do you get taken for granted, or
I talk to people a lot. There's a few people like him, but he's rates up there. Cesaro's another one. You can look at it as getting taken for granted, but what it is take it as a huge compliment, because you are trusted by the people paying you to be a professional. They know that they can trust you with anything, to do whatever they need to do, to hit your times, to be whatever you need to do. And it's an unfortunate byproduct of being a good pro. Again, a lot of people might not understand that, but it's frustrating for them. But believe me, the people that are paying them, they're not looking at it. They're looking at it as you've got an exceptional pro who can do everything, and I can rely on them to do that. And that is something that happens. Within my first few months of being in WCW, I had Arn Anderson and Paul Orndorff come up to me and say, "Well, you're screwed." And I was like, "Oh, why?" He said, "Well, because you can do this, and you're always going to be relied on to make sure put people over." And I think it is a problem for them, but you could also, both Pac and TJ as well, you can make them into anything at any time, and people will buy into it. If you made Pac now, if you decided to make him whatever you wanted to make him now, nobody would question it, because he's so credible at what he does, and he can back it up with his talking. He can back it up with whatever he does. You know, he's every time he does flying moves. There's a lot of people do flying moves, but a lot of times they don't. Like his flying moves look like they're gonna cripple you. When you know what I mean. Everything he does is
that back kick, man. It looks brutal every time. That back kick looks like he's gonna kill somebody every single time.
That he's in a different league and world of how good he is. That's my opinion. A lot of people might not want to hear that, because they all buy into their own stuff about how good they are, and they are good, but he's different because of whatever it is he's got. I really hope to see a lot more of him doing matches with because there's such a huge amount of great talent in AEW. I mean, there's so many good people there, and he should be on with all of them every week doing something. And it doesn't have to. He just writes it. It's just you don't need. It's just quality. There was a thing in WCW in 1996 where there was a fantastic angle at the end with the NWO. But if you go back and watch, there was a lot of quality matches on. And they were just thrown to, and I was part of that with Eddie, Chris, Dean, all the luchadors. And there was an hour and 40 minutes of that show where there was some incredible talent from all over the world wrestling each other. And they could just be thrown together at 5 to 8 at night. It didn't matter. Well, and you're going to have a standout match. Well, he's one of those kind of people. And there's a lot of people in AEW that can do that. He's that. It doesn't have to be about stories sometimes. You just give the people a credible match, because at the end of the day, that's the story. The story is that there's no such thing as not having a story in wrestling. The story is I've got to beat that person in front of me. Right? That's the story. Anything else you get to work with is a bonus. The story is there's two competitors and one of them has to win. And if they know how to go out there and actually make it look like they're trying to beat each other, that's a story in itself. It doesn't need any more writing than that. And sometimes that's all you need, because there's enough stuff going to be going on with stories and different stuff. Sometimes you just need credible matches to keep the strength of the job. And he's that person that can do that with a group of loads of other people. And you know, I'm part of a group that's what they're doing. Whatever they do is credible. There's a little bit of a story going on, but it doesn't matter. Whoever they face, it's a credible professional wrestling match that gets people excited and gets people talking. Well, he's one of them people. So I think we've probably run out of time today, but we've touched on a lot of topics.
Oh yeah, but the topics have been great, you know. And to close this out, of course, Neville, I think it's an easy comparison to make, but reminds me of a updated Dynamite Kid, and what he's doing now is what Dynamite Kid could have been if he would have stayed healthy and would have kept going the way he was going. And to watch Pac become
it's what Dynamite Kid did anyway. You go back and watch his body of work, right? You know what I mean? It's only I was watching him when I was 6 or 7 and he was 16. I was watching him from when he first was on TV at 16, right? And I was watching him live every 2 weeks. That I used to go to my local wrestling was there, and I was watching him at 16 until he went to Calgary. I got to see him. So he had an incredible body of work. That's what he was doing. He was laying down from day one, credible wrestling matches in whatever style no matter what company he went for. His body of work still holds up well. You can go back and watch. You'll be able to watch Neville's. Pac. You'll be able to go back and watch him, and everything he does is credible in whatever style he's doing. You know, because at first it was a bit of a different style, but once he got whatever he's doing, is brilliant. So,
and of course, not to gloss over TJ Wilson.
No, again, fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Just a great wrestler, and really the match worked because of his story. The story it told of him. Of course, Neville's looks like this world beater at this point, but you know, TJ is trying to reboot his career,
and beat him. And you didn't for a second think that wasn't two people trying to beat each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing. It's what you watch wrestling for. If you just watch that, you go, there's two fellas trying to beat each other here. That's the story, and there was no doubt that there was times when, you know, anytime there was any kind of a pinfall or anything, it would look right. It was right, and everything was right about that from a professional standpoint, and it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic.